Oh, well done from Vekic to get to that ball. Well, that ball nicely placed from Eala by Vekic. And from being down 3-love, almost 4-love in that opening set, she takes the opener 6-4. Oh, well done from Vekic. Very nicely done. Big smile.
We are focused on the crimson clay of the court, Patrice Dominguez Court at the Strasbourg International. To a casual observer just scanning the daily schedule of the WTA Tour, this opening round match might look like a routine tune-up, a brief stopover before the gates open at Roland Garros. But strip away the generic stories and look at this, purely through the lens of tactical geometry and biomechanics, and we have one of the most fascinating stylistic clashes of the entire European clay court swing. Modern tennis analysis often fixates on the baseline firefight. We usually see matchups where two elite athletes trade heavy artillery, hitting the ball flat and hard until someone's defense finally breaks under the sheer velocity. But today is not looking at a mirror match. This is a pure, unfiltered clash of opposing philosophies. In combat sports, the classic stylistic puzzle that always draws the eye of the purist is the aggressive, high-volume striker facing the relentless, unorthodox grappler. The striker wants to dictate the pace and maintain an optimal, comfortable range and fire off clean, powerful combinations to end the match on their own terms. The grappler, however, wants to close the distance. They want to disrupt the rhythm, neutralize the power, and drag the contest into a grueling, ugly, suffocating grind. That exact dynamic, that precise asymmetrical warfare, is playing out on the red dirt. Alex Eala is the high-volume striker, an engine built on rhythm. Oleksandra Oliynykova is the scrambler, the grappler looking to drag the young star into the deepest, darkest waters of a clay court grind. Before we dissect the tactics of how this match is won or lost, we must understand the immense stakes hovering over the court. Beyond the tactical battle, the economic and career implications here are staggering. When you analyze the trajectory of a rising star in pro sports, there are distinct inflection points. In the WTA ecosystem, the leap toward the top 40 in the world rankings shifts a player's financial and logistical landscape fundamentally. Players in this elite echelon secure, direct, main draw entries into Masters, 1,000 events, and Grand Slams. They bypass Solmer Wonsley, and they bypass Solbruv Live R. It is exhausting, chaotic, qualifying rounds. They preserve their physical and mental capital for deep tournament runs. They gain the financial leverage to hire full-time physiotherapists, dedicated hitting partners, and sports psychologists. And Anisimova is standing on the absolute precipice of that tier. A deep run at a WTA 500 event like Strasbourg does not just secure crucial ranking points, it secures a future. It boosts her prize money and builds an immovable wall of momentum heading into the French Open. To understand how this match unfolds, we must first look at the developmental momentum Alex Eala brings into France. She is coming off a productive, deeply encouraging run at the Italian Open in Rome. In Italy, she secured solid victories over Magdalena Fresh and Wang Xinyu before stepping into the arena with the reigning two-time Grand Slam champion Elena Rybakina. While Eala ultimately lost in straight sets to Rybakina, the tape from that match is a goldmine for her coaching camp. Eala is looking increasingly lethal on the dirt, which is no surprise. Her developmental roots run deep through the Rafa Nadal Academy in Mallorca. She was literally forged on European red clay. Her movement into the corners has evolved beautifully. She has transitioned from the hard court scurry to a legitimate, fluid clay court slide, allowing her to decelerate, strike the ball, and recover her center of gravity in a fraction of a second. The absolute core of Eala's game is rhythm and baseline aggression. As a left-handed player, she steps onto the court with a natural geometric advantage against 90% of the tour. Her standard cross-court forehand naturally targets the right-handed opponent's backhand. This is the oldest, most reliable, and most devastating pattern in tennis history. By using heavy topspin, generating upwards of 2,800 revolutions per minute on her forehand wing, Eala drags her opponents wide into the doubles alley. When they are pulled off the screen, it opens up the down-the-line passing lane. More importantly, it allows Eala to step inside the baseline, take the ball early, and dictate the physical terms of the engagement. Tactically speaking, controlling a tennis court is like building a well-spaced offense on a basketball court or controlling the center of a chessboard. It is all about manipulating real estate. Eala wants to. She stands right on the baseline. She wants to take the ball early, shrinking the court and stealing time from her opponent. She is a tennis pro who thrives on pace. Hit a flat, 75 miles per hour ball at her, and she uses your kinetic energy, absorbing it into her frame to redirect the shot with even more explosive speed. She weaponizes her rivals' power against them. But that brings us to the real danger of today's match. This is exactly why her opponent is a total mental nightmare. When you are a player who thrives on fast-paced rallies, the toughest challenge is facing someone who refuses to give you any speed to work with. Ranked 68th globally, the 25-year-old Ukrainian Diana Yastremska is not going to blow you off the court with pure force. Her forehand might not break any radar guns, but do not be fooled. She is the ultimate disruptor. She is a master of the dark arts of defensive tennis. She fought into this main draw by systematically annoying and breaking down Yulia Putintseva in the final qualifiers. To truly understand how big that win was, you need to know that Putintseva is one of the most stubborn, relentless defensive stars on the tour. For Diana Yastremska to outgrind her on a red clay court requires a masterclass in patient rally, tolerance, and tactical grit. If Eala is a precision engine running on a clean rhythm, then Diana Yastremska is a massive wrench thrown into the gears. She plays a messy, unpredictable, and wildly asymmetrical style of tennis. She is constantly shifting the height, the spin, and the pace. She alternates between deep, nasty slices that skim the net and high-arching moonballs that fall from the sky. On a slick grass surface or an indoor hard court, this tricky style is manageable because the ground normalizes the ball bounce. But on European red clay, especially in the damp, heavy air you find in eastern France during the spring, this style is lethal. The friction from the crushed brick amplifies every single rotation of the ball. When she hits a moonball, it does not just sit there. The topspin bites into the dirt and kicks up violently, often bouncing high above the shoulder of an aggressive player, shoving them far out of their strike zone. On the flip side, when she hits a slice, the backspin makes the ball skid and die in the clay. This forces the attacker to break their kinetic chain, bend low, and literally dig the ball out from their shoelaces. Her opponent gives you absolutely zero pace. Think about the biomechanics here. Every single ounce of power that Alex Eala generates today must come from her own sheer muscle. She will have to rely on her own leg drive, her hip rotation, and her own racket head speed. She cannot borrow an ounce of energy. This is not an accident. It is not a lack of power from the Ukrainian. It is a calculated, cold-blooded physiological strategy. It is built to drain the legs of an attacker over a 3-hour marathon. Even more dangerous than the physical toll is the mental intent. This style is meant to provoke impatience. It is meant to bait a young shot maker into overhitting out of total frustration. So, how does this match actually play out on the court? For Alex Eala to advance, she must follow a specific, highly disciplined, and demanding tactical game plan. She must control the length of the rallies. Eala needs to keep points in the 0 to 4 or 5 to 8 shot range. Data shows that if the Ukrainian can drag these rallies past 9 shots, the chance of an Eala unforced error skyrockets. This defensive wall is banking on that statistical outcome. Therefore, there are 4 tactical pillars that Eala must perfectly execute to grab the win today. The first pillar is territorial dominance. She cannot give up her baseline real estate. When a heavy, looping moonball comes her way, the natural human instinct is to retreat. The brain tells the body to back up 10 feet behind the baseline to let the ball drop back into a comfortable, waist-high strike zone. Eala cannot give in to this instinct. If she retreats, she gives her rival 3 extra seconds to recover her position in the center of the court. The point resets, and the grueling cycle starts all over. Instead, Eala must use aggressive footwork and the elite timing to step into the court. She must hit that high ball on the rise while it is still ascending. If it loops too high, she must use the swinging drive volley, taking the ball out of the sated air before it even bounces. She has to handle the heavy spin and completely suffocate her opponent for time. She must make the court feel impossibly tight for the Ukrainian. The second pillar is about punishing that short slice. Oliynykova often uses a low backhand slice to bait Eala into the net under some very awkward conditions. When a player sprints forward to catch a dead, skidding drop shot or short slice, that forward momentum makes it tough to stop, plant the feet, and swing through. When Eala is pulled into this trap, she cannot panic. No trying for a flat 100-mile-per-hour winner. She must drop the racket below the ball, use heavy topspin to roll it deep into the corners, and follow that approach tight to the net. By hitting with safety and depth, she forces Oliynykova into a low-percentage passing shot while sprinting. Alina must view the net not as a place for flashy winners, but as a tactical chokehold to finish points quickly. The third pillar is the absolute need for the first strike advantage. This brings us to Alina's lefty serve. That serve, especially the slider wide on the ad court, will be her most vital weapon because Olynovskaya stands incredibly deep to defend the return. It is a huge tactical opening. A high percentage of Alina's first serves that pull the Ukrainian out into the doubles alley will tear the court wide open. This sets up the tactical serve +1. The ball goes wide, left, the return floats back weakly to the center, and Alina steps up to hammer her forehand into the completely open right side of the court. If Alina can step up and crush that forehand into the open space and serve above 65%, then Olynovskaya's defensive scheme will start to crumble before the rally even starts. Maloma needs those free points to save her energy for the brutal baseline battles ahead on her opponent's service games. The fourth and final pillar is the counter to deep defense, the drop shot, and Maloma must use the drop shot to exploit Olynovskaya's extreme depth. It is a brilliant tactical move. When a defender sits 15 feet behind the baseline to chase heavy topspin balls, the front third of the court becomes prime real estate. Maloma doesn't even need to hit a perfect, feathery winner that dies on the spot. She just needs enough touch to drag Olynovskaya into a full sprint. She needs to force the Ukrainian to the net and make her play offense. Olynovskaya is a counterpuncher. She is naturally uncomfortable when forced to create her own power and hit targets from inside the service line. By using the drop shot, the strategy forces Olynovskaya to play a style she absolutely hates. But let's be realistic about what's coming on this court. Tactics only matter if the mind is clear and the nerves are steady enough to execute under pressure. Playing a defensive junk baller like Oliynykova is an exhausting mental grind. It is not just a test of physical fitness. It is a brutal test of emotional grit. Eala has to accept a harsh reality before she even steps onto the clay today. She is going to make errors. It is unavoidable. She will miss easy shots she could hit in her sleep on a practice court. She will frame forehands into the stands. She will dump balls into the net because of some awkward spin or a bad bounce off a divot in the clay. The danger here isn't that first mistake. The real danger is the compounding frustration. This is what we call scoreboard pressure. If Eala constructs a beautiful point, works Oliynykova side to side, and then misses an easy put away on a floating slice, she cannot let her shoulders slump. She cannot afford to press harder and overswing on the next point. To make up for it, if she drops her head or looks at her box in despair, Oliynykova will feed on that negative energy like a shark sensing blood. This match requires veteran-level focus from the young Filipina. She must be completely okay with winning ugly points today. She must be willing to hit 7 or 8 highly disciplined, heavy rally balls to systematically build the point rather than hunting for a spectacular winner on the second shot. It's all about building the point brick by grueling brick instead of trying to blow the house down in one swing. She has to embrace the grind of the clay court. Her lungs will burn, her legs will feel heavy with lactic acid, and her patience will be tested every single point. When we analyze the data and weigh the mechanics against the psychology, the final verdict leaves no room for no exaggeration here. This won't be some quick, clean blowout. Anyone expecting Eala to just walk onto that court and blast 30 clean winners in an hour completely misunderstands the geometry of this matchup. This is going to be a grueling, technical, and frankly frustrating encounter. Olynovskaya is just too crafty. Her court coverage is massive, and her defensive web is too stifling to just brush aside. The Ukrainian will definitely drag Eala into deep, uncomfortable waters. But when you weigh their skill sets, when you look at the raw physical potential and technical ceilings of both athletes, Eala has the definitive advantage. Her recent matches against the absolute best on the WTA Tour in Rome prepared her for this exact pressure. She has felt the pace of Aryna Sabalenka and the intensity of stadium courts. While Olynovskaya has that unique ability to dictate an ugly style and agonizing pace, Eala owns the raw baseline firepower and geometric edges needed to control the final outcome. Expect an incredibly tricky, frustrating opening set. Eala might drop a few service games early. She will need time to adjust her internal timing to those junk balls and that total lack of incoming pace, unforced. Errors for Eala might stay uncomfortably high for the first 45 minutes, but once she maps the court, once she dials in her strike zone on those high-kicking moonballs and begins executing those serve +1 patterns, her baseline superiority will eventually take over. My prediction is a hard-fought, physically demanding, but ultimately decisive victory for Eala. Expect her to drop a tight first set, maybe even a grueling tiebreak where the pressure peaks, before she finally establishes her rhythm. Once she kills those moonballs and stops biting on short slices, she will systematically dismantle the Ukrainian defense in the final 2 sets. The physical toll will break Olynovskaya's resistance. Her heavy topspin will eventually punch massive holes through that defensive wall. Eala wins this in 3 sets, securing a vital spot in the round of 16 and taking another critical step towards cementing her name inside the WTA top 40. That is the beauty of clay court tennis, a chess match at 160 beats per minute. It is physical, mental, and a pure test of will.